31st of August, 2024 at exactly 11 a.m. here in Snohomish, Washington, United States of America. Welcome once again to our cosmic journey, the Dev and Design podcast chronicling the journey that two entrepreneurs took to make the world's best astrology software. I am the designer, Jake. He is the engineer, Trey. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
You know, it's episode 50, and I think I've only ever haven't messed up the start 2 times now. So that was the second time. I did stumble over my words, but I didn't have an existential crisis in the middle of a sentence. So good on me for that one. Mercury must have gotten out of retrograde for that.
I feel like if the history is to always mess up the intro, then messing up the intro is actually part of the intro. So I think you're like actually doing the intro the way that it.
So I'm not doing the intro. So I didn't do the intro today, is what you're telling me. Okay, great.
That's number one. Today was the anomaly, so you screwed it up.
It also took 50 episodes for us to not be within 500 meters of each other while doing this podcast. So I am sitting in the Snohomish library. Trey is sitting at his parents' house in Snohomish. So we are still in the same town, but we are greater than 500 meters away from each other. I don't know. Maybe we had this big plan that like I'll be in Europe, you'll be in the United States, we'll do this podcast. Never happened until, we'll see what happens in the future. But
hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. So far, so good, as it turns out in this podcast. But we'll just see if anything comes of it. Today's episode is called Retrograde Revolution. Like I said, it's episode number 50. Oh, there's a sticker that I have to show you today as well. So I'm going to also show you in addition to the things that you're seeing over there, I'm going to show you the sticker, the Cycle 50 sticker that we have. Trey has his check-in.
Very nice.
We're going to sandwich a dev demo between 2 design demos and a sticker. Lots of design today, as it turns out. But, as it turns out, we always have to start with the check-in question. And Mr. Henry, that check-in question is yours.
What kind of garden plant are you?
What kind of garden plant am I? Our neighbor on Harstein Island says that she has a moon garden, and I had mistakenly believed that because she called it a moon garden that she was astrologically bent. And then when I started talking about astrology to her, she was like, no, I just have white plants. That's why I call it a moon garden. But if I were to be a plant, I would want to be part of the moon garden. So I'm looking for something that's kind of like white, smells. Here's what I'm trying to achieve. Something white that smells nice, that people actually enjoy. So like some large lily and everything. What I actually am is probably that plant that blooms every 7 years that smells like a corpse. I don't know. We'll have to... You're probably seeing something about it right now because, I can't remember the name of it. But I think I probably smell like durian fruit. And therefore I probably am more like durian than anything. What about you? What were you thinking?
I was thinking, so mom, I came up with this question because I'm like right near mom's fabulous garden. She does a really amazing job with, and she's got these broad beans that she plants, and they're not particularly beautiful plants, but you can eat basically all parts of them, although we mostly just eat the beans. But the primary reason that she planted them is because they're really good for the soil. So it's like good for the soil, like generally useful, not very pretty.
So, okay, kind to trees, not very pretty. That's what you're trying to say?
Exactly.
Okay, smells of death over here. Kind to trees, not very pretty.
Exactly.
We're obviously feeling very, very positive about ourselves today. That's very nice. Very nice for us. One thing that I did this cycle was create the thing that you look at. So you are using our astrology software. Here, I'll actually just transition to the screen for it. You're using our astrology software. You are creating charts. Those charts are saved. How do you see those charts, right? Like, how do you go into a list of all of your charts and see stuff that you have created? Now, you can make it look like traditional astrology software, which looks frankly terrible, or you can do something that is nice. And we've decided to do the nice thing. So what you're seeing here are what's called the chart cards. chart cards so all charts have rings in them, and that's the primary way that the astrological data is populated in the system. So there's charts that have many rings. Those rings have astrological data. They're usually connected to either a native or an event, whether that event is a notable event or a non-notable event. That event could also be now. So what you're seeing here is 4 different types of chart cards. One is just like straight up, this is one ring. It is a natal chart that is sitting here. But you can also put it with an event. Like I said, this is a non-notable event. We don't know what the character of this event is, so we just say it's a natal chart with an event. But you might want to look at what somebody's natal chart is, like what's transiting in somebody's natal chart now. And so if you put a here and now ring with that, we would say that's a natal chart with transits. And you would show that these are the 2 rings. And again, like you can go more than 2 rings, but this only kind of shows the ability for 2 rings here. But we can say, if you've got more rings than that, and we don't know what the type of chart is, we call it a 3-ring chart here. And you can click here and see all 3 rings, and you can imagine that this would perhaps pop down into a bigger card kind of thing here. These are not implemented yet, obviously, but I wanted to show what the design was for all of that. Mr. Henry, any thoughts about these things before I kind of show like how the card goes in the detail? That's what I was going to show next.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and that's you can start to imagine what a screen of those cards looks like as you have saved lots of charts, and then being able to search and filter, and you're going to go into the details of it, but being able to sort of like flag charts that you care about right now, like star them basically, and things like that. So that's really cool.
We have this horrible bookmark icon, and the only reason that I use that stupid icon is because it's the only thing that made sense that came from hero icons. We can make our own custom icons, but I was just trying to do something quick. And Trey and I were having a conversation, and I was like, I don't really like this bookmark thing. And he's like, oh, I thought you chose that. I'm like, no, I think that thing looks terrible. But you can imagine that there's something else there. Star is a little bit heavy-handed. I was thinking of a pin, I hit the table, sorry about that. A pin or a thumbtack might be an interesting thing to do, but I would have to draw that or have to find that. It's fine. I can draw things. It is absolutely within my my power to do so. So the big idea here when thinking about doing this through an OOUX lens, so this is object-oriented UX. We've talked about it many times before. The idea here is that the representation of objects is consistent across screens. So what you're seeing over here is that there's a title to the chart in the upper left. There is that bookmark icon that looks terrible, but is there, and we're going to fix that. And then you see there's 2 rings here, and then there's this kind of last opened date. So when you go to the details page, so you click on this card, and you go to the details page, you'll see here, and this is again, like you've seen a lot of this before, but not all of it is ready for code yet. So here's the title. It's in the upper left. The upper right has the bookmark icon, and here are the rings. The last open date isn't here. I probably will put it in here just to like make sure that the representation from the card to the detail level is consistent. But then you start adding lesser calls to action. So we have a share up here. Obviously now you can add a ring here, but like this is how when you, I have to go to Figma for a second. This is how when you go from a card, which is on the left hand here, to a details page, how things start to look like you're almost like zooming in, like, I'm just going to take this card and stretch it up. And this is kind of what the idea is of like the card kind of stretched up to a detail view would look like this. And I love that about OUX. That was one of the things that I think makes for more usable systems, because the consistency of objects across the application makes things much more intuitive to use. And I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Me too. I think it's really it's amazing uh, how a lot of software, not just astrology software, but there's a lot of software that people use has different metaphors for the same thing. Like if it's in one place in the application, it looks one way. If it's in another place in the application, it looks completely different. You're like, this is the same thing. Why is this completely different here?
Yeah.
Or like, why are the actions that I can take on it different in this context than this context? And that's what we always talk about with pushing the complexity of the application onto the user instead of doing the hard work to make it consistent for the user. So we want to be in that second category.
Trey was bringing up the kind of plague of digital software spaces, which is these things called shapeshifter objects. A great podcast that goes into detail of like what shapeshifter objects are and why they're terrible is this thing that's called Oox, I Did It Again, OOUX, I Did It Again, which is a very silly and cute name. There's an episode that I really like about shapeshifter objects about Facebook Marketplace that's linked up there right now. Go take a look at it. As it turns out, Facebook Meta is a pile of trash. We all knew that. And the only parts of Meta that people tend to use are either groups for special kind of interests or the marketplace. And the marketplace is hot garbage, as it turns out. Ta-da! Surprise, surprise. Not that we're here to drag anyone else down. I'm sure that, Meta doesn't need any defenders. Oh, hey. Hold on one second. We've got a special guest right now, weirdly. Come on in. We're filming the episode right now.
Are you really?
Yes. It's longtime viewer Carol Henry.
Oh, I'm a longtime viewer. I've been here since day one with them. And if you listen to them and participate, they'll give you like stickers, sometimes a little shout out.
So Carol's making a mention that she hasn't received a sticker yet. We're going to show her the Cycle 50 sticker very shortly that she will be getting. Okay, so she'll get stickers.
And I wanted to comment, don't you think that both of these young men are super handsome?
We just talked about how Trey looks like a broad bean and I smell like one of those corpse flowers.
Exactly. I couldn't have put it any better. Okay, I'm off to walk again. See you. Bye.
Thanks, Carol.
Bye.
That's so weird. I love it. By the way, while we're filming this, Don is deciding that he needs to weed whack right in front of the window. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. He already sent Tuberculosis Jane upstairs.
Typhoid tuberculosis.
Typhoid Mary. Tuberculosis Tammi. We call it Tuberculosis Tammi.
Tuberculosis Tammi.
You can't be Typhoid Mary, Tuberculosis Tammi. They're friends. They're cops.
They solve crimes.
We might actually keep this in, so I'll just keep this. One of our friends is having some chest issues. We're calling her Tuberculosis Tammi at this point. So anyways, great interview. That's the first time, by the way, we've had a guest on the program. There's a lot of surprising. The 50th episode is really a cavalcade of strangeness, as it turns out. You have a grab bag of stuff that you wanted to talk about. Do you want to give any introduction, or do you want to go right into the demo?
No, let's just go right into the demo. So there was a couple of things, a couple of little tactical things that got done, and then the start on perspectives. So one of the things that we did, so I'm currently not logged in. And this is important because, as you can see, we don't know location, we don't know time zone, and there's no houses, consequently, because we don't know the angles, we don't have a location. And one of the things that was broken is that the point detail cards were crashing the application. So if I pull up a chart here, so I'm still not logged in, but I pulled up a birth chart, which has obviously has location and time zone and all of that good stuff. And so, we have all of the house details and that kind of thing. And so, as we showed before, if you click on one of these bodies in the chart, you can see the details about it. And you can see here that the house is in there. The triplicity lords are ordered by sect. And you don't know house or sect, just as a couple of quick examples, when you don't have houses. And so going back here to the here and now chart, where we don't have that information, if you clicked on any of these, it would actually crash the application. So I fixed this, and now we have the ability to, so we, in the Triplicity Lords, we default to the daytime ordering, and we don't show the house anymore. And any information that's downstream of house and angles and stuff like that is now aware of the availability of that information, so that it can kind of like do the right thing. But this is a good example of like how, even when you're being very careful about trying to sort of really think through all of the different scenarios, this is kind of like a scenario that we missed. Right. And I normally, when I'm in development, I am logged into the system, and I'm often checking things like perspective and things like this, whatever. And then I was just randomly happened to be checking the logged out state, and I was like, oh, of course this is crashing. So anyway, so that was kind of one cool thing that we fixed. There's another thing where I don't actually have sorry, I should have pulled up a chart before this. Okay. But if you get something that's conjunct with Jupiter, like something retrograde conjunct Jupiter, what you would see, depending upon where it was in the chart, is that retrograde would overlap with the glyph of Jupiter. And we've talked a lot at this point about how to handle the very complex scenarios of what you do with overlapping glyphs. It's such a fascinating topic, and when you really dig into this, it's also interesting because we look at a lot of other astrology software and kind of like compare what we're doing with other software, and a lot of times you'll see just the craziest solutions to this. You'll see the little angled tick marks. You'll see like they'll draw house lines around groupings. It's really, there's a lot of very interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting solutions to this, or takes on how to like try to handle these sort of situations in a chart, particularly when you're using a like Alchebicius maybe, or a house system where you might have, depending upon your location on the globe, you might have like very, very tiny houses sometimes. And if you have a constellation in that house, it's like wacky. So anyway, there's all of these kind of like weird corner cases. In this case, we fixed it by just giving the grouping a little bit more breathing room. Right. However, it did result in this conversation about like, we now have a few example charts where the overlap of like, or a grouping of very close together bodies that push some of those bodies into the next house. So like where the glyph appears makes it look like it's in the wrong house. And some of the things that we might do about addressing that or trying to fix that. So anyway, it sparked a lot of conversation. The quick fix for this, especially for the upcoming release, is just to give them a little bit more breathing room. So now they don't, there's less chance of them overlapping. There's still a couple places where they kind of can overlap a little bit, but it didn't really fix this issue with like the thing being in the wrong house, for example.
Yeah. Like Trey said, we've got ideas on how we're going to fix that. And again, until you do it and you can feel it, you don't really know if it's going to work. And you can have a very principled discussion about like how to do things, but the details, it's where the details kind of manifest is where these things actually get interesting.
Yeah, exactly. But even if you're not logged in, you can always cast a chart with location. So it's really just that sort of like, if you go to the here and now chart. So, if I'm pulling up the Cosmic Console, and if I do like a add here and now, you can see that it's the same thing. But of course, in this case, we have we have the houses being projected out from this top ring. So anyhow, it's good, interesting. Actually. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating topic. And we're going to keep going more rounds on this very topic. Making progress.
We also were making a little bit of progress on the brand. So the brand of Cosmic Plumbing, you might see this weird like pipe sticking out with the word cosmic. That's not our brand. That is definitely just a thing. One day we're going to have a real brand that is associated with Cosmic, and Cosmic will be Cosmic Astrology, and there will be other products that we create that will be called Cosmic. All of those as a suite will be called Cosmic Plumbing. all of that sits in a new company name. Do we want to reveal the company name? Because I think we just got approval for it, right?
Yeah, it just went through. It finalized anyway. So like now it's officially the name. So yeah.
So officially, the company is called World Esoterics. And literally, it's called World Esoterics OU. And you're like, what the heck is OU? That's an Estonian thing. Don't worry about it. It's an Estonian corporation. It's called World Esoterics. And actually, you are obligated by law, whenever you say the name, to sweep your hand, the left hand, from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. World Esoterics. Go. There you go, because you have to do it. World Esoterics. So
I just realized that Estonia is basically the Delaware of Europe.
Estonia is the Delaware of Europe. That is correct. That's why we have an Estonian corporation. We are going to have a real brand. It will be called Cosmic Plumbing, all of that. And this is very, there's not a lot.
In case anybody's confused about that, Cosmic Plumbing is a wholly owned subsidiary of World Esoterics.
Yes, sorry. Cosmic Plumbing Incorporated, a wholly owned subsidiary of World Esoterics.
You forgot a very important element. World Esoterics.
Oh, World Esoterics. Thank you. I violated my own law. Anyways, so while we're creating the Cosmic Plumbing logo, Trey and I have just been going back and forth and thinking about what this thing could look like. We also start chatting a little bit with ChatGPT to be like, well, what if it was more like this, and trying out different things. I was trying to do this idea of integrating a C and a P. Boy, oh boy, that didn't work. But, it's worth a try. And we really like this idea of there is things that might be kind of diurnal and nocturnal, moist versus hot, kind of cool or whatever. Either putting those hemispherically or putting them into quadrants, trying that kind of thing. The thing that we're probably most excited about, the representation on the right is not great right now, but it's where we're going right now, is the idea of what's this thing called? The I always want to call this the lab.
You're talking about from Hellraiser.
Yes. This looks a lot
Leviathan.
like Hellraiser. The Leviathan. So we've got the Leviathan from Hellraiser, and it's sitting on top of what's supposed to be a chart. It is revealing the firmament inside. That's kind of the idea of peering into the infinity, and the idea of maybe hiding a sea in there. This is not really a hidden sea. There might be something else that can be done to make this a little bit more hidden in there. But yeah, that's basically where we're at with the brand right now. It's not a brand. It's just
this is very,
brand
very
explorations.
Brand exploration, very, very early. What we end up with might look completely different from that. So yeah.
Correct. But that's the thing. Everything that you see here could look completely different from anything that we've ever shown you. That's just the way this always works. Because here's the deal. One day we will have created the world's best astrology software. And someone's going to be like, how did those dudes do it? And they have to look at all of this stuff that was weird left turn. What is that? Why did they name their company World Esoterics? These are all great questions. By the way, if you are here from the future and you are trying to figure out how we did this, leave a comment below. Just let us know. Hey, I'm from the future, and I wanted to know how these guys actually made the world's best astrology software. We'd love to hear it. The only other thing I wanted to show you today was the Cycle 50 sticker. Mr. Henry, are you ready to see the Cycle 50 sticker?
I think I and the viewer are very excited about it.
I think Carol will also be excited about it as well. Special guest out of nowhere, Carol. Here it is. Drum roll, please, but do not bang the table because you're going to ruin the recording. Da 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 da. Bam. That's the Cycle 50 sticker, which I'm super excited about. That is the Moonicorn. The Moonicorn will always have a rainbow horn, always purple hair, cool guy glasses. That's also important for the Moonicorn. And this sticker, it might not be obvious. because you're like, why does it look all shiny? It's holographic, which of course is very, very necessary. So this is where the Moonicorn is going to be. We should talk. It's been a while since we talked about the Moonicorn. I think probably episode 1 is when we introduced the Moonicorn. It's our character that helps you out with various situations. So you can imagine that the Moonicorn might be like, you know, you're something's expiring right now. I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't cancel. I'm sad. You know, those things.
The emotional manipulation to try to keep people from canceling
Hey,
subscriptions.
just because it's OUX does not mean that we don't use emotional manipulation. Come on. That's always important.
We covered that in a prior episode.
Yeah, indeed. Whatever episode that I said we're not going to emotionally manipulate people, it's up there. You can call me a damn dirty liar up there. Feel free to comment that I am a liar. What should the viewer then do with their selves today on this very special, momentous 50th episode, Mr. Henry?
I don't know. Spend time in the garden?
Eat some broad beans?
Eat some broad beans.
Have some durian. It smells like feet, but it's delicious.
Yeah, but if you can find a place that does durian ice cream, that's a whole thing.
Yeah, it's hot out there. Get some durian ice cream. Don't give it to the kids. They're not going to eat it. You'll have to eat it yourselves. And be well. Take care. Have a beautiful Saturday or whatever day you watch this program. Stay cool out there, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.